Hi everyone, Queeveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. As promised, in today's video we are going to take a look at a couple of specific nights, starting here with sunset on the 24th. So as the sun goes down on the 24th, and viewing things from a city like Cork here in Ireland, we have the moon in the sky. It is far from a full moon. We have this waxing crescent moon here. As we move from the 24th through to the 25th, we see that get more full, and it will be a nice half moon in between the 25th and the 31st, just there on the 27th, one of the best phases of the moon to observe or take photos of. And we can see here not quite a full moon, but a waxing gibbous moon by the time we're through to the 31st. So those are the phases of the moon that we have coming up for that particular week. As the sun sets, we'll see the same familiar set of constellations in the sky. We've got Pegasus up nice and high above Saturn, and very soon after the sky actually gets dark, here we are at almost 7 o'clock, not even 7 o'clock, and we've got Orion, Jupiter, Gemini and Saturn all in the sky together. Moving through to the morning of the 25th, if you are up early in the morning on the 25th, you may still have a chance, just barely, to catch Mercury, but one of the last chances this year. A little bit earlier in the morning, here we are at 20 to 6, we've still got that very clear shape of Leo, Bootes, Corvus, Virgo, all of those familiar constellations in the sky. So I think the night of the 24th into the morning of the 25th may be the popular night for staying up late, but we will go through again and just come through the night of the 25th itself. So here we are again, same thing, almost 7 o'clock. We've still got the moon and Saturn, all of those same constellations in the sky, along with Jupiter in Gemini, and coming through to morning time, of course, it will be similar things. Just taking a look at the sky here a little bit past midnight, we can see that Jupiter is up nice and high. It's coming up to its opposition in January, so it is going to be easy to see just a little after midnight is when it will reach its highest. We've got Orion very clear, as well as being nice and high, and Leo in the sky as well. So plenty of constellations up and visible. Again, going through to the morning, we'll have those same shapes in the sky. Mercury really getting tough to see there as we come through to the morning now of the 26th. Coming all the way back to sunset, we have passed the shortest day of the year. So as we move forward to the 31st, New Year's Eve for many, the sky is going to be a little bit brighter for a little bit longer. It will take just a little bit longer before the sky really darkens up. But here we are again at just 10 to 6, and the sky is reasonably dark. The moon now has moved over to between Jupiter and Saturn, and if we take a closer look, very close to the Pleiades. So we can see here, there's a good chance that from other locations the moon would have occulted the Pleiades, but doesn't look like that's going to be an option for us here in Ireland. The moon isn't full, but it's close enough to full that it's going to keep the sky much brighter all through the night. So here we are, just coming up to 10 o'clock, the moon is at its highest. The moon would be at its highest at midnight if it was full, but it's not, so we're getting it just that little bit earlier, and we can see that it's really keeping the sky extra bright. If we head out to the countryside, that difference will be even more noticeable. And if you are heading out to the countryside to visit relatives at around this time of year, you can really see here, if we just come back to the 24th, much darker. Fantastic night to head out to the countryside. There will be so many faint things visible. Even Uranus there is practically visible, and Uranus is a tough planet to catch, but it's very still quite close to its opposition. It was at opposition only recently, so it's still in a good position to see. Moving forward again there to the night of the 31st, and that extra light of the moon in the sky makes a huge difference. So this is a fantastic time to compare. Those are two nights of the year where there's a good chance you may be staying up late, and there will be a wonderful contrast, a very distinct contrast between those two nights because of the phases of the moon. So we can see coming up in morning time here, the sun is pretty much directly in front of the core of the Milky Way, and that means we're barely going to see much of the Milky Way at all. It's going to be quite low in the sky, and of course the light of the moon is also going to interfere. So this brings us forward, and we'll get ourselves back pointed to the south. This brings us forward to New Year's Year's morning. And a lot of people take a look at the sun rising on New Year's morning. Mercury is certainly gone here, and here we are at 20 to 8. We can see all of the summer triangle back up in morning time, and we can see Scorpius here. So this is a sign Scorpius is back in the morning. The core of the Milky Way must just be down here, so we're going to start seeing more and more of the Milky Way's core in the morning as we move through January and later into the year. We've also got quite a good view of Corona Borealis up there. To make things fair, we'll pull back into the city. I know that more people live in cities, generally speaking, so there is a better chance that you will be looking at the sunrise in a city sky than in the country sky, and we can see that that makes Scorpius very, very faint. But of course, the summer triangle, those are some of the brightest stars in the sky. They're still very, very clear and visible, as is Arcturus there in Bootes and most of the other famous stars like Spica and Regulus. We can still see Jupiter in the morning. It's still there in the morning because it's so close to opposition. It's almost with us from sunset until sunrise. Once we get a little bit further into January, it will be at opposition and it will be with us from sunset to sunrise. But that's just another interesting thing that you can catch in the morning. If we come just a little bit earlier to the beginning of sunrise, when light is first starting to come through the sky, so here at about 20 past 7, we can see that Jupiter is high enough to be reasonably easy to observe. And then we are back to daytime. So those nights coming up, the night of the 24th and the 25th, the night of the 31st, these are often times of the year where people stay out later, especially for New Year's Eve. Many people stay up until midnight to ring in the new year, and many people get up in the morning to greet the first sunrise of the new year. If you are going to be up anyway, these are fantastic opportunities to go and take a look at the sky. So we'll come back up to midnight here on New Year's. We can see Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, Jupiter, the second brightest planet, largest in our solar system, and the moon at its waxing gibbous phase, nice and big and bright, with the Pleiades and Taurus there with Aldebaran and the Hyades. This is all visible at midnight, a time when, if you are ringing in the new year at midnight, there's a good chance you'll be awake anyway. We've got a nice balance here of the plough on the northeast pointing down to the North Star and kind of bouncing up on the other side. We've got Cassiopeia in the northwest, both pretty much equal by the time we're through to midnight. And if we lean back a little bit, not even too much, we've got Capella there and the Pentagon of Auriga almost at the zenith, just a little bit off the zenith, a little bit lower in the sky. So this is a fantastic night to go and look at the night sky, especially if you're going to be awake anyway. Very quickly popping back out to the countryside again, just because this is such a particularly famous night. We're just about seeing the glow of the Milky Way stretching behind this portion of the sky, but the glow of the moon is of course going to block out a lot of it. I've already mentioned in so many previous videos the interesting things that we can see when we take a closer look at Orion, but of course it's going to be close to the moon, and that light of the moon is going to make things harder to see. Taking a look, oh well, there is a comet coming around as we come into January, comet 24P Schaumass is coming around. It's barely visible there as we take a look out in this direction, but it would be a bit more visible than the galaxies that lie out in this direction. There are a large number of galaxies out towards the region between Leo and Virgo, and again just up at the handle of the plough or the Big Dipper we can see a number of them there. Unfortunately, the light of the moon is going to make them harder to see, but that's something that you can take a look at instead on the night of the 24th coming into the 25th, when the night sky is going to be much more pristine, and we can see how much of a difference that makes almost immediately. Similarly, with just looking into the glow of the Milky Way, there are a bunch of nebulae and clusters of stars in the glow of the Milky Way. Even though we're looking at the outer edge of it, it still provides some interesting targets. Turning back around here to this region of the sky with some galaxies, there's that comet again, so that is nice to know that it's going to be out there, even if it's going to be difficult to see. And we can see some of the galaxies up here in and around, not exactly the Virgo cluster, pretty close to the Virgo cluster of galaxies, just the top, I suppose, of the Virgo cluster. And similarly with those galaxies around the handle of the plough or the Big Dipper, with the moon out of the sky, they are that little bit easier to see. And of course, you know, on the 26th, if you happen to get a gift of a telescope or binoculars, or if a family member is getting a gift of a telescope or binoculars, this is going to be really a great night to try it out, and the first night that you'll get to try it out on the 26th if you're gifted it on the 25th. So these are all things that we're going to see in the sky on these nights of the year where people are commonly up either late or early or both. So I really hope that you take advantage of this very useful time of the year to take a look at these things in the sky. I hope you get the chance to use some telescopes or binoculars at this time of the year to take a look at these things in the sky, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do like it. If you enjoy this kind of content, then please subscribe to this channel, and if you'd like to read some of this information, you can do so on my website, queevinscontent.ie. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.